Sanders is urging MSNBC to hold a debate that is issue specific. So he wants to debate Joe Biden, and this is at this point a two-person race in the Democratic primary, a debate with Joe Biden on the topic of healthcare. In fact, he talks about it with Rachel Maddow in this next clip.
We are spending twice as much. And by the way, I would love to debate Joe Biden on this issue. Give us an hour on MSNBC, all right? Where we can talk about how anybody can defend a system in which we're spending twice as much per capita on healthcare as the people of any other country, and yet 87 million are uninsured, 30,000 die, 500,000 people go bankrupt every year because of medically related debt, and we spend far and away the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. You want to defend that system? Let's do it.
I think that he's absolutely right. I mean, look, even if they're not doing an issue-specific debate, I think that any debate where the focus is simply on Biden and Sanders is gonna be great for Sanders for obvious reasons. I mean, there's no more noise with candidates who have no chance. And you have these two candidates, and Biden's not gonna love it. He's not gonna love more time to talk because he's been struggling. I mean, it's gaffe after gaffe. He loses his train of thought. He forgets what he was gonna say. And fact of the matter is, when you look at polling, especially when it comes to some of the exit polls from the primaries that have already been held and the caucuses that have already been held, it's pretty clear that the majority of Democratic voters want Medicare for all, as opposed to maintaining this for-profit system that we have in place. And I'll give you those numbers in just a minute.
The next debate's on March 15th. That's too late. Let's go. Let's have another one right now. Right now. I need to see more Biden. I want to give Biden more airtime. Aren't I magnanimous? So here's a very important fact. Polling from Super Tuesday, exit polls, show that Medicare for All was more popular in every single state than the current system. Every single state. In fact, well, they say, well, yeah, but you got to win in places that are the South, et cetera, like Texas. And you got to win the Midwest, so critical, those Midwestern states like Minnesota. Number one state that Medicare for All polled the best on Super Tuesday, Texas, 63 to 33. 30-point lead in Texas, okay? Now it's granted, of course, it's Democratic voters, but it shows you they kept claiming in the mainstream media in their nonstop lies that Medicare for All is not popular. I think a 30-point lead among Democratic primary voters is pretty popular in Texas.
Yep.
Number 2 state, Minnesota. So those are the 2 states that had the biggest margins for Medicare for All. And that is after millions upon millions of dollars in propaganda from conservative Democrats, Republicans, advertising from the industry, and it's still that popular. And one last thing about that, if you got Medicare for All that popular, why did Bernie Sanders lose Texas? Well, the media keeps telling you, oh, not electable, not electable. Make sure you vote against your interests. If they voted based on policy, as an example, Medicare for All, Bernie would have won Texas by 30 points.
Yeah, that's a factor, but I also want to remind everyone, it was a story we did earlier this week about how Texas has been aggressively shutting down polling places in areas that are disproportionately Latino and minority. And so that, I'm sure, helped Biden as well. But in the general election, we all know who that's going to help. It's not going to help Biden. It's going to help Trump. Assuming that everything is fair and they're not doing all this voter suppression, I think that's the number one factor. You're right, but I think that the voter suppression that's taking place is also playing a role in why Biden's doing well in some of these states.
Absolutely, and I actually in the post game, that's the last half hour of the show that's just for the members. I want to talk about a shocking fact about my election related to this. TYT.com/join to become a member, and we'll tell you that fact as well.
Yep, and then a few other facts that I want to share with you. There was a recent study done that looked at the cost of Medicare for All, and of course, Biden is going to lie about how much it's actually going to cost. When you look at how much it saves, I think that's the irrelevant statistic that gets buried both in the mainstream media and on the debate stage. So Biden has repeatedly attacked the 10-year estimated cost of Medicare for All by saying it would cost $35 trillion. What he repeatedly leaves out is that as the Los Angeles Times columnist David Lazarus pointed out this week, it would actually save quite a bit. So spending under the status quo for-profit system over the subsequent 10 years likely will reach a staggering $60 trillion at least.
So how are you gonna pay for that, Joe? That's a $25 trillion difference. Has a single moderator ever asked that question in any debate? Correct answer is no. They've asked the reverse question 1,000 times. Has there been a single progressive moderator in the Democratic primary debates? No, not one. Isn't that amazing? Every single moderator is moderate to conservative, and they feel like, well, that's obvious. Obviously, well, if we had a progressive on, that'd be biased. No, what? No, that might begin to be even-handed if you had one progressive versus the 100 moderators you've had who are conservative to centrist. But they say, no, we cannot count even a single progressive moderator. They must all be centrist or conservative. And that's the idea of fair, preposterous. The media rigs these elections more than any other factor. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.